The Cards might not be done adding to next year's roster.
You are Locked On Louisville, your daily podcast on the Louisville Cardinals. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Card Nation, what's going on, everyone? Welcome into this Tuesday edition of the Locked On the Louisville podcast. I'm your host, Dalton Pence. This is my fifth year covering U of L, third year hosting this show, and I want to take the time to thank you all for making us your first listen of the day. Just a reminder, Locked On Louisville, free and available on all streaming services, 5 days a week. Your team every day. We are going to briefly pause the position preview series to conduct a jam-packed recruiting episode. The Louisville Cardinals linked to a 2025 international recruit, suggesting that the Cardinals might not be done adding to next year's roster. We will react to that here shortly. We'll give a small 2026 recruiting update. The Cardinals offering one of the highest rising players in the 2026 class. They also were included in one of the nation's top sharpshooters list cut. So more on that coming up shortly. And the football program getting another Sunshine State commitment in the 2026 class. Some high praise from some national recruiting analysts for this particular player that we will identify at the end of the show. But a lot of recruiting to discuss today. We'll start with 2025 recruiting. And I'll be honest, myself and almost everyone out there thought that the Cardinals were done adding to the 2025-26 roster after the Ali Khalifa eligibility news. The Cardinals have 12 scholarship players. There's not a ton of playing time still left to offer. It feels like the rotation is pretty set in stone of who at least is going to be in the rotation. Maybe not the minutes distribution, but who is in the rotation. But here we are, a couple days ago, a tweet from Arman Jovic at PDT Scouting on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it. I'll probably forever call it Twitter. But he is one of the most trustworthy international recruiting sources out there. And he put out a tweet saying, Croatian 6'8" Ivan Bogdanovic is looking to go the college route and is available for recruitment. Averaged 18.1 points, 5.6 rebounds, and 2.0 assists for Croatia's U20 team last summer. Now, this is the interesting part of the tweet. Last thing he says, has heard from Louisville, Zags, MSU, Texas A&M. So right there, the Louisville Cardinals linked to what I was able to get confirmed, a 2025 recruit at this point. I don't think he's going to go back to 2026, but 2025, so eligible this upcoming season. Now, not particularly unheard of for international recruits and reclassifications to be talked about in July and even August sometimes. So, but it still is late in the process. So Louisville, Gonzaga, Michigan State, Texas A&M. At this point, until you maybe hear more about it, I would caution Louisville fans to get too invested. I mean, it is significant that the Cardinals are involved because it shows that Pat Kelsey, to me, is an opportunist. Like, I subscribe to the mentality that if you are going all in on a national championship, that you have to entertain every opportunity that could make your team better. But entertaining opportunities do not fully equal or automatically equal getting seriously involved. Louisville reaching out shows that there is definite concrete interest, but I would caution anyone to get too excited until you hear more. Now, Gonzaga, Michigan State seem like the two teams early on to beat. Apparently, Illinois might be in the mix. They have been recruiting international players really heavily this offseason. So it's interesting to me. Bogdanovic just turned 21 a couple days ago. 6'7", 6'8", plays for KK Studenski Center, which is known as SC Derby, team that plays in the ABA. And despite having the really solid U20 numbers for Croatia last season, this past season on the international scale, appeared in 19 games, 8.7 minutes per contest. He averaged 2.6 points a game, 1 rebound a game, less than half of an assist, 0.1 steals, 0.1 blocks, 33% from 3 on 0.6 attempts, 56% from the field on 2 attempts per game, and 63% from the free throw line on under a half attempt per game. So the sample size is not really all that great. I understand that the potential is there, but this is one of those situations to where you wonder, how does the transition look like from where he is playing now to the Power 5, to high D1 basketball? Like, how does it transfer over? And I think that the skill set is there. Like, there is extreme shooting upside. Like, if you go to that tweet from Armand and you look at the highlights, like the shooting stroke is nice. Like the shooting upside with catch and shoot, with spot ups, like the potential is there to be a high upside plus level shooter in college. And not to mention, there is a upside to be a secondary, even tertiary creator on the floor. But to me, sort of screams prototypical 3-and-D type wing. Not only does he shoot well, he's a willing passer. He is a willing slasher / cutter. But again, I think that if you're asking me what skill set's going to translate the most next season, it's going to be 2 things, probably. The ability to shoot and the ability to operate in transition. High energy, high motor guy. You have to wonder if he's even going to be ruled eligible this late in the game. I know right now with the state of the United States and eligibility, it's not clear cut if he's going to be eligible to play next season. So something to focus on. Adding to the roster at this point is going to be like one of 2 things. Either you're adding a bona fide star that is going to potentially put your team over the hump, or you're adding to increase depth and give yourself some more insurance. And I think that this potential addition would be like probably part B, probably the latter. Because I think that Bogdanovic, at 21 years old, he's an older prospect, but I think that he fits into that injury / lackluster performance / foul trouble insurance at the end of the rotation, sort of like Muhammad Kamara. To a lesser extent, sort of like Vangelis Zougaris. I think that Zougaris is going to play more of a factor or more of a role in this rotation at the back end because of the current state of the center spot. But Bogdanovic has a lot of players that he would be competing with. I think that he can play the 3, play the 4. It's positionless basketball. But I think that the potential could be there. So it's maybe a situation where Pat Kelsey's going, okay, I've got a spot open on the roster. He might not play a ton this year, sparing minutes here and there, or maybe he's a redshirt candidate. But next year, if we can develop him and get him ready for next season, there's enough that we see with this skill set, with the physical traits that lead us to believe that he could be a plus level contributor in 2025-26. I'm okay with that. You've got 3 scholarships still left to fill. If you feel the need to go out and give yourself some more insurance, a guy that best case scenario could be a rotational player this year, but worst case, you're using him for next year. I'm personally okay with that. So something to focus on at the moment is how involved is Louisville going to get with a guy like Ivan Bogdanovic. So don't go anywhere. We have some more basketball recruiting talk on the show, some 2026 recruiting updates, one of the highest risers in the class and one of the top sharpshooters in the class we will discuss coming up on the next edition of this Tuesday episode of the Locked On Louisville podcast. But first, Card Nation, I want to take the time to tell you about our friends over at Game Time. Look, we've all been there, logging on early, waiting for concert tickets to go on sale, only to lose your spot for a show you've been just definitely wanting to see. Live music should be about making memories, not dealing with the stress of ticket shopping. And that's where Game Time comes in. That's where Game Time came in last week for me when I went to go see Creed and Daughtry in Lexington. Got tickets at the last moment. It was hassle-free. And actually, I was watching the ticket prices go down the closer that you get to that first act, because you can save up to 60% off with the killer last-minute deals. So with Game Time, the price you see is the price you pay with no hidden fees. Take the guesswork out of buying concert and show tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Again, terms apply. Create an account and use the code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Card Nation, thanks again for making us your first listen of the day. Just a reminder, Locked On Louisville, free and available on all streaming services 5 days a week. Your team every day. A small 2026 recruiting update on this Tuesday edition of the show. Two players that we're going to talk about, and there will be some more basketball recruiting to talk about at the end of the week. But we're going to talk about these two players in particular today. The first is a high-rising player, one that might be one of the highest risers in the 2026 class. Now, I know I feel a little hypocritical here, but we're at the point where you know who the Cardinals are going after. So when a new offer is handed out after an AAU circuit tournament, it's pretty significant, and especially for Colben Landrew. Colben Landrew plays on the Adidas 3 SSB circuit for Game Elite, and he was one of the best players this past weekend. I believe it was the Palmetto Road Championship. He led his team to the championship game. But immediately after, the Louisville Cardinals offered the 6'5" small forward from Marietta, Georgia, plays for Wheeler High School, which for those recruiting junkies out there, you know that is where former Louisville Cardinal Darius Perry came from almost a decade ago. My gosh, it really has been almost a decade. Dude, that's sort of depressing how, fast time goes. But Colben Landrew, 6'5", 200 pounds, currently, according to 24/7 Sports, ranked as the 62nd best player in the class, 24th best small forward, 4th best player in the state of Georgia. On the 24/7 Sports composite, he's ranked even lower at 82nd. But his recruiting stock has completely soared through the roof. He just visited Purdue recently. He's been hearing a lot from Michigan, Miami, UConn, Alabama, Auburn, Georgia, you name it. Like, he is one of the players that you ask recruiting analysts, and his stock is going to soar. His ranking is going to improve drastically. It would not surprise me if he is a 5-star player when it's all said and done in the 2026 class. Now, when you watch him, he honestly might be one of my favorite players in the class. I went from thinking he could be a multiple year guy that you could bring in, stash for a year, and have be ready for year 2, year 3. And now I'm like, oh, he might be a guy that plays right away. According to Brandon Jenkins, a 24/7 Sports, he released an article. Next player. Sorry, forgive me. I'm looking and overlapping my notes here. We'll revisit a Brandon Jenkins article here shortly. But when you watch Colben Landrew at 6'5", he is sort of in that combo guard small forward hybrid, 6'5", 200 pounds, just extremely strong. He's physically ready to come in and play right away. He's just one of those players that makes the game look so easy. He's smooth with the basketball. The shooting upside is there. He's a potential 3-level scorer, high energy, high motor guy that attacks the glass. The upside to be a good point of attack defender is there. There was one play that I watched where he got the ball in the pinch post, or set a screen in the pinch post. And for those that don't know what the pinch post is, it is the elbow, the post on the strong side of the ball. So he set a screen, got the ball, and just made a couple moves and took the ball to the basket. And I'm like, this kind of epitomizes the skill set that this guy has. This is an offer that I would look at particularly closely, because at this point in the cycle, handing out an offer after how well he played on the Adidas 3 SSB circuit, it's pretty significant. So definitely would keep an eye out on Colben Landrew moving forward, potentially scheduling that Louisville visit. Speaking of scheduling Louisville visits, Cole Cloer just cut his list to 8. And this is where the Brandon Jenkins 24/7 Sports article comes into play. He cut the list to 8: Alabama, Florida, IU, UNC, NC State, UConn, Virginia, and the Louisville Cardinals. Cloer ranked as the 24th best player in the class, according to 24/7 Sports. 6'7", 185-pound wing, will play his final season of high school ball at IMG Academy. And he had some pretty glowing things to say about Louisville. This is the excerpt that he put in the Brandon Jenkins article. It's a historic program. They're the professional team in that city. The energy in the arena, the excitement from a fan standpoint really stands out. That's my dream. You want to play environments like that. Pat Kelsey is a great coach. The fans are amazing, and the games always sell out. It's a basketball school. I think they'll be really good this year. Coach Kelsey turned it around after a few rough years. I expect them to be one of the best teams in the ACC, make the tournament, and be a top 10 team in the country. He goes on to say, I built relationships with Thomas Carr and Coach Kelsey. What stands out about Coach Kelsey is his energy. He's not too old school. He's a player's coach. He'll get in there with you and fight for you. He loves his players, and I love that about him. That's what you want in a coach, and it's a great all-around program, end quote from Cole Cloer in an article from Brandon Jenkins of 247sports.com. Cole Cloer, really good shooter, kind of is he's tailor-made for this system that Pat Kelsey runs. Really good in catch-and-shoot situations, spot-up situations, coming off of pin-down screens. Like, Cole Cloer is one of the best shooters in the class. But it's not just something to where he's only a shooter. Does a good job of putting the ball on the deck and getting his shot off, especially in the mid-range. Doesn't need much space to get that shot off. Also excels in transitions. So I thought it was interesting that Cloer mentioned that he has official visits locked in for Alabama, for Florida, and also for Louisville. Now, I don't know when that Louisville official visit is scheduled. I know the Florida official visit is early September. Alabama is middle of October, but I don't see or haven't seen where the Cardinals are getting that official visit. So hopefully it's for a game. I would like for Cole and other top prospects that the Cardinals are going after to witness the Yum Center where it needs to be, or back where it needs to be, right? With a raucous crowd, a good team, and a great atmosphere, because I think that that's going to be a huge selling point, and, of course, a state-of-the-art facility like the KFC Yum Center. So I know that we talk over and over and over about the guards that the Cardinals are after, and even Tyron Stokes, who's that point forward, and he's the top prospect on the board. But we talk a lot about guards, and it seems like the Cardinals are also, putting a lot of emphasis onto the wing recruiting too. So I could really see this high school class being like 4 to 5 players, and really, really good players, like 3 crown jewel-esque players and 2 developmental pieces, maybe an international recruit. But Colben Landrew is one that I would watch for moving forward. And also Cole Cloer, now that he has cut his list to 8, which it's still a pretty sizable list, Cardinals are really heavily involved at the moment in getting that official visit. So that's key. That is extremely key. So we're going to sideline basketball recruiting talk for the moment, but we aren't going to leave the recruiting realm as we go over to the football side. The Cardinals picking up another Sunshine State commitment over the past couple of days. Devonte Anderson is a Louisville Cardinal, and I really like this commitment for Jeff Brom's program, and so do some national recruiting analysts. I'm going to tell you what one of them said when we come back on this Tuesday edition of Locked On Louisville podcast. Okay, so a little bit of a scheduling update. Keith Artov will be on the show tomorrow as we preview the linebackers position. And to conclude the show, we will have another weekly mailbag. So get any of your questions that you have into the YouTube comments. You can reach out on X at @dpence_ if you need to, the Locked On Louisville Twitter page. It's up to you, but just get those questions in, I would say probably before Thursday. So you have about a day and a half to get those questions in. But we're going to conclude the show by discussing another Sunshine State commitment. In the 2026 class, Devonte Anderson, 6'1" cornerback, 185 pounds, plays for West Orange High School in Winter Garden, Florida, which I am not like a huge geography aficionado, but I believe that Winter Garden is right on the outskirts of Orlando, if I'm not mistaken. So pretty solid competition there, ranked as the 1,025th best player in the country, according to 24/7 Sports Composite. 3-star is the 87th best player in the country. 87th best cornerback in the country and 118th best prospect in the state of Florida. He chose the Cardinals over the Maryland Terrapins and the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. That was his top 3, but in the month of June, he had official visits at Rutgers, Auburn, Maryland, and Miami. So seems like one of those overlooked 3 stars because of the talent-rich area in which he plays, but really solid film. 6'1", the larger cornerback, had 38 tackles this past season, 10 passes broken up, and 3 interceptions. Also played both ways, 26 receptions, 447 yards, and 3 touchdowns. I asked Brian Smith, national recruiting analyst for the Locked On Podcast Network. He's the host of The Portal on the network as well, lived a ton in Florida. I don't think he's from Florida, but lived in Florida recently before moving to Alabama. Had a really good pulse on football recruiting, especially in that Central Florida area. So every time there is a prospect from Florida, I mean, he tells me how it is. He doesn't sugarcoat it. He doesn't tell me what I want to hear. If he doesn't like a prospect, he'll tell me, and he'll be brutally honest. And that's what I like about his analysis, is that it's not like a cliche, oh, diamond in the rough, you're really going to like this guy. This guy could be an NFL player. Like, he's very, very honest. And this is what he said. And I'm quoting this word for word. Physical, plays best going toward the line of scrimmage, mentality of a safety with his penchant for hitting. Could play cornerback in cover 3 or cover 4, but he's not a pure man quarterback. Or cornerback, sorry, not quarterback. Louisville could use him as a nickel, in the box safety, or free safety, and see significant success. Anderson will be an immediate special teams contributor, end quote. So pretty high praise there. I know that Andrew Ivins of 24/7 Sports, the director of scouting, projects him as a potential multiple-year starter for a Power 4 program that has a higher ceiling with his size and quickness. Now, from what I've seen from film, a lot of what he plays is a boundary cornerback, use the sideline to his advantage. Most of the coverages that he played was that off-man coverage. For those that don't know what that means, it's man-to-man coverage, but he's playing off the line of scrimmage. Now, there were times on his huddle tape where he was asked to press, and he's not like a top-end speed guy, but he's got that level that he can reach to stay in stride with receivers. So I do think it's interesting that Brian Smith thinks that Anderson might not necessarily be a boundary cornerback, but he's that versatile defensive back that you can ask to play a couple of different positions. So I also think that he's shown the ability to be a solid tackler in the run category. I like that he uses his size to his advantage. The physicality jumps off the page there. He's extremely physical, plays with a ton of aggression, a high motor. And I do think it's interesting that Andrew Ivins mentions this, that he's on the younger side for the grade. So he's got some time to sort of mature and fill out his frame. But for a program that really utilizes versatility, they utilize physicality and versatility in the secondary, guys that can play multiple positions. And we've seen players arrive at Louisville expected to play a certain position, and then all of a sudden in fall camp, they are running with a different unit. Like it's happened time and time again with with safeties that come in and they get converted to linebackers. TJ Quinn. Stanquan Clark, but that was before college. TJ Capers, and that was before college. Jalen Alderman was a player. Ben Perry was a guy that I can think of in recent memory. But I like this commitment for the Cardinals. I am all for going to the Sunshine State and getting those diamond in the rough players, because you look at the hit rates, so to speak, for those level of guys, like a low or that mid-level 3-star guy, like that lower level 3-star guy in Florida, probably more likely to hit than a lower 3-star guy in Kentucky or a lower 3-star guy in Indiana. You know, Florida is that talent-rich part of the country, along with Texas and Georgia and California. You know what I mean? Like it's the place where guys just get overlooked because there's so many guys that demand attention because they're that good, and just challenging at times to be able to determine who is legit and who's not, because everybody's fast and everybody looks good on film. So I think that this class is shaping up to be really solid. Now, of course, the Cardinals need to keep his commitment. The Cardinals just got a decommitment and a flip from Evan Hampton. He flipped to Vanderbilt, which I'm not too worried about. But it has to be said that a guy that commits in July might not stay committed through December and through the new year. So hoping that the Cardinals can hang on to his commitment, because I do think he could be a solid player for Jeff Brom's defense. That is going to wrap up this Tuesday edition of the show. Tomorrow, we're back with position previews, discussing the linebacker position with Keith Artov. Don't go anywhere. We'll see you right back tomorrow. Everyone have a great day, and go